this arm. All right. The question is like when we're talking about the legs in this case, what are some of the more optimized pathways forward? Like, how should we do this? Thinking ones, right? All right. So when you're in a character like this, let's be clear, he is very primitive, right? He's very primitive. And we're not going to animate him quite the same way we would a humanoid. But let's talk about posing a character for a second. What I probably didn't cover in detail is that we're doing something of a relaxed A pose or relaxed T pose, which suggests a position kind of like this. I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a second. Like this with your arms, kind of down like that. Right? The idea with this is that the placement of the arm is the midpoint of however far you plan to actually animate your character. This is the most equilibrium of that position. So that means this is probably as far down as it'll go. And if that's the midpoint, this is about as far up as he'll go. Sometimes you see poses like this, T-pose. It's a little bit dated, but it also just depends on what you're planning to have your character do. So that means also that if this is your middle point, this is closer to position you're going to do. If I were animating ballerina, hell yeah, right? She's going to be, or they, excuse me, let's not assume gender, ballerinas, right? But if it's just a possible, I don't know, this is about as far as they'll go, it will look a lot better because there won't be so much pulling and deformation on your geometry down here. So that might be what would come into my mind if I'm thinking about, you know, how much curve I apply anything, really. Here, there's a little bit more to it, though, with anatomy. When you see characters posed, and we're just going to go with this pose, right? So he's kind of relaxed stance. If you don't offer curve in the gesture of your character or illustration, it looks off. Sometimes when it's perfectly straight, let's say we were going to 3D print this guy, he'll fall forward. He'll just fall forward. Like the line of balance isn't holding it, right? It's not holding it firm. So, you know, I provide curves here, I think, with a little bit of that informing also that here. If you don't, you're still fine. But I would say that you'll probably notice a little bit of a difference in kind of quality of it feeling really grounded when you pose it later. Like, how come that one looks like it's standing and this one looks like he's just like placed there all rigid? I've seen so many, we'll say budding artists learning character illustration that don't account for those curves and line of gesture and center of gravity. And they'll feel like they should be like impossible to stand the way they have them posed, right? And it's that kind of thinking. So now your follow-up question too about optimization. When you get into the retopologizing of a character or anything really that you're going to animate, you would offer more density in geometry anywhere you have deformation. So if we were going to actually model a human character, and let's pretend for a moment it's all one form, this portion right here should have a higher density than, say, a forearm would have, right? Because from this point, you have a joint in your shoulder that moves a lot. It needs more geometry to conform to that. If there's less, it like cracks and pops, looks awful. Probably you've seen that in the old PlayStation 2 days of your parents, right? Okay. So, you know, for this assignment, I'm not really coming down on your distribution of geometry. You will be eventually getting a poly budget. And so that does come into play a little bit later. But since you asked now, those are the various things I'm thinking about when making some of those decisions. Cool. Sorry, I hope I didn't talk all y'all's ears off, but it was an interesting question. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and knock off one more task here, and that is the foot. A little bit bigger. Just sit there. It's pretty good. Pretty good. You know, You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to take these two, merge, combine, delete history. And then I'm going to take all these guys right here and I'm going to move it forward a little bit. All right, cool. And a little curve there. Fine, fine, fine. All right, now I'll go ahead and mirror them. Great. Select all of my stuff. Going to combine them so it's one piece, SM Bender, delete history, remove anything else that I'm not using. SM_Bender is going to be my model name. Ideally, this is where I would like you to be at the start of class at this point. Now is definitely the time, though, if you want me to cover any of the problems that you might have gotten stuck on getting here. Yeah. How do you soften something? Oh, soften an edge? Okay. How do I soften something? Great question. Under the mesh display, we have harden edge and soften edge. There is one that's both, it toggles. So whichever one it is, it'll make the other. I don't really think of it that way, though. Usually I want many things softened at once or whatever. I hate menus. So I like pin them to my shelf. To do that really quick, hit Control Shift and then select it. I'm going to do harden and then soften, and you see how they both popped up on my shelf right here. So now they live here. I'm going to now remove them because I already have them here. But every face or edge that you have selected and then you click, it will apply that to it, right? And I want this to be softened. Soften edge. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to do a quick look inside of my model here. I don't want any geometry that's not being rendered to exist, basically. Oh no. Okay. Yep. Oh, delete that. Don't want that. Don't want that. You guys, are you guys visible? Yeah, they're visible, so I'll just leave that one alone. And I think I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good about my Bender bot looking very Bender-like. For this model, you may use the harden and the soften edge tool to your discretion. Meaning if you'd like an edge to look hard, you may use it here. If you'd like it to look soft, for sure. In fact, you're probably going to want to because, let's look at something when it's off. I'll show you how very irritating it is. Ugh. When something is hardened and it should be smooth, it's just like frustrating. There's a part of you that, ugh. So do a little pass on this. It's going to help your character look a lot nicer. Great. All right. Now, we're going to cover the unwrapping part of this. Some of you might have gotten a little tense just me saying that right now. I understand. This is basically a fancy barrel. He's really a fancy barrel. You know, it's true. A lot of this is going to take the same barrel approach where we have two caps on the top and bottom, right? And then we unfold the sides. That's pretty much how it goes. So please, it's going to be okay. All right. There's two things that I'm thinking here because we do have to get through it. I could front load that on the front of this lecture and then let you guys work. Or I can give you a few minutes right now that might give some of you an edge to be ready to try to follow along, which I almost always encourage. Well, I know some of you might still be working on a barrel or maybe fixing a barrel if you got some feedback from me. I highly recommend that you try your best to follow along here. It helps me slow down where you might need more explanation. It lets you ask the question right now and you get a recorded answer from me versus coming back to this later, right? When you have the question pop in your mind and I can't help you with at least a day's turnaround, right? So that's my advice. Based off of that, how's about I give everybody about a little more than 15 minutes to do your thing, and then we're gonna get to unwrapping this. So please have me come help you get to being ready for that, okay? All right. Great. Okay, back to the task at hand. We are going to unwrap our Vanderbot. Now, quick recap, how to set up for unwrapping. Three things need to be active. One, that you have a visible viewport, which we do here, that you have your UV editor open and your UV toolkit. Those are the three things that we really need. My preferred way to do this is to go ahead and use this two side by side. I like to have my perspective on the left, panels, panel, UV editor locked in on my viewport on the right. And then I want to make sure that I got my UV toolkit on. I've got it docked over here, but if yours is off, go to Tools, Hide/Show UV toolkit. It should say Show if yours is hidden. Okay. Now, if you're a little unsure how to do that, I want to show you where you can find how to do this in some of the resources that I have for you here. And right up here, we've got controls and setup. And this is just sort of a quick recap on the very fundamentals and basics of this. So it's okay if you don't want to go through one of my recordings. I got some visuals here that kind of cover what we refer to, right? Okay, but you know what might be pretty good is a quick recap of the steps of this, of the steps. Now, the steps, they're very theoretical, they're very simple, but they're super solid and concrete. And we always kind of come through these steps in a bit of a spiral motion, right? First step is that we create our UVs. Whenever we start at this phase, I really need you all to understand that if yours looks like quote unquote trash up here at this stage, you've done nothing wrong. The more complicated your meshes get, these get gnarly. And so just to kind of make a point, yeah. Am I upsetting anyone yet? Are we good? Are you angry yet? Is this stressing anyone out? How do you fix it from that? I love this question. You don't. This is terrible. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. We throw it off a cliff and start over, all right? Now, this means absolutely nothing. Whether yours looks like this or like mine did at the start, it's not any more work for you. We're basically just saying that whatever they've given us will never be acceptable. Just facts. So if this is what it looks like, please don't panic. You've done nothing wrong. Okay, all right. Oof, let's turn all that off. Oh, and I forgot my, yeah, there we go. Okay, next, we create, then we identify shells. Identify shells. This is the second step, and this is sort of the first thing that people get really stuck on because they think it's a button. This is not a button. This is a puzzle you play in your mind. When you look at the shape of something, hopefully what you're doing is identifying the most primitive form of that. In our case, a lot of him is a cylinder. Sometimes they might be the shape of a box or a cube. And we're identifying where we might want to see each shell. And remember, a UV shell is a piece of the UV that's been cut and unfolded and separated and all that. So you're kind of making a little plan in your mind with this. It's all in here. How you solve might be a little different than what I do to solve it. That is okay. There's not really wrong ways to go about it, but there are possible problems for you later that I hope to identify, okay? Then, when you got your little idea, your plan, we start cutting and we start sewing. You can select the pieces that you want to be a shell to create a UV shell. You can select the edges that you want to cut like scissors, fine. Oops-a-daisy, things are separated and you want them to be together. We select them and we sew them until we get the shell separated from the rest of the mesh. Step 4 is you unfold. That is the task of, yeah. You've got themselves and they're maybe a little stretched. So you I did that not very smooth. You unfold it like that. That's just a button. It's called unfold. You click it. That's all you do. Then you lay it out. You lay it out in 0 to 1 UV space. Let's move that out of the way. Oops. I accidentally changed my panel. Between 0 and 1. If you got to 1.1, you went too far. That's how you know. 0 and 1. Okay. Don't panic. Now, we've got kind of a complex mesh here. So where this gets a little trickier is that the first mesh that we did when we, maybe at the create tool, I hate Canvas so much. We only had to do this once. We might have to do this a few times or any step of the way. So it's actually okay if you repeat these steps. You don't create all at once and then decide all the shells all at once and just do this one time. That has gotten kind of confusing for some students, and they're like, well, if I have to go back, I've effed up. You didn't. You have to do it all the time. It's very normal. It's very normal to like start over on a piece. So let's start with create. Select all of them. Just select your whole chunker boy, all of it. I'm going to select all the faces because it's easier for me to visualize it. Then I'm going to head to the Create tab, which is conveniently near the top of your list of tools here. And I'm going to left-click Planar. And that is giving me a sense of what plane he's being projected on. It's a side. That's the x-axis. If I middle mouse click on Planar, it will be from the top, the y-axis. If I right-click Planar, it will be Z, front axis. That's nice. I kind of like this. Does it matter which one you click? Not really. I think all that matters is that it makes sense to you. I'm going to stick with the Z, which is the right click on Planar. And I mean, you can even start to kind of adjust them here at this point if you want to, but like, this isn't going to do much for you because we've got more work to do. Got a little bit more work cut out for us. And now what I like to do next is just move him off of my little palette here. I need to put everything that will be unwrapping in this space, so I kind of like to work in the space. It's okay if you don't. You can do it over here or whatever, but I just like to kind of piecemeal one by one. So let's start with what I think is the easiest and like of 50% of his form, which is his body, right? For some of you, that might be his body and head if you went so far as to connect them, right? But I'm going to just start with his body, his little torso here. That's not so scary. That there is a barrel. That is an easier barrel than what you even had before. Breezy, right? So now, the first thing that you can do is you can either select the edges you want to cut, right? I'm going to do a cap on the top and a cap on the bottom and a slice down the side and unwrap them. Those are the shells that I made in my brain. So that's what I'm going to do here. How's about I just like select that edge I want cut. I'll go down to my cut and sew and we'll cut it. Some of you have a tendency to want to select the faces and hit cut. But here's what happens when you do that. You've made them all individual. Oops-a-daisy. So edges are the lines that you cut. When you select faces, it will cut all the lines. So we don't want to do that. However, if you like thinking about it like this, instead of cut, what you use instead is create shell, create UV shell. Whoop. Now it's one piece. Yeah. Now, this part can get a little confusing too because we've got the top cap and the bottom cap completely flat. Well, we can go ahead and apply planar. I'm going to do X, no, Y. Ooh, that's nice. Check that one. X, no, Y. There we go. And suddenly I have something to work with. I got these pieces, right? Now, let's say we're back to this stage where it's early on, right? You're deciding what to cut and sew. What you can also do is you can select the shells that you want to be a shell, you can select the faces and then just apply a planer to it. Kind of takes care of that whole cut step for you, you know? I'm going to do that again. You know. There we go. I'm going to select you guys, deselect everything else. Don't have anything else selected. Good. Okay. Middle mouse planer. Okay. Now I'm almost at the place where I unfold, but I know how things that are circular like this unfold. Like an infinity scarf. One side's all stretched out and the other one isn't, and we hate that. All right. Okay. Your millennial auntie hates that when you do that to her infinity scarves, because I don't think anybody wears those anymore, right? We do. I see you. Okay, so what I'm going to do next then is I'm just going to kind of cut my forever scarf down the side so that I can completely unfold it, right? To do that, I'm going to select edge, and then I'm going to select the edge that I want to cut. Now, I selected it on the body of my guy over here in 3D. I did this because it's easier than possibly selecting the wrong one over here since it's right on top of the other one. You might not never know, right? They're on top of each other. So I selected this one. I'm choosing the one in the back for now because I think that that is least likely where my viewer will see, right? So I'm going to just start with that sort of thought. But because I clicked it here, I double clicked it, it went all over my mesh here. So we want to make sure we're like going ahead and deselecting anything that I don't want cut up here. So I'm going to come back here. That looks good. Don't need that. All right, let's hit cut. And now, oh, how dare I do this wrong? How could I? All right, now I'll hit cut. Here you go. Next up, I just want Maya to kind of whoosh it all with the unfold button. Very quickly, right below the cut and sew is unfold. Notice how the steps that I covered are kind of stacked on top of each other. So that's where you can find them, right? We create and we figure out what we want the shells to be. Then we cut and sew and then we unfold. Whoop, it's pretty good. There it is. And then at the very bottom, hey, get out of the way. Helpful note. Thank you. The very bottom is arrange and layout. Layout. What's kind of nice about the layout is it'll normalize it to itself. Now, I'm not going to keep it this shape and this rotation. I can do orient shells and it'll like, well, it'll try to snap it to like a 90-degree like grid, but I think I actually want this like that. So I'm going to hit layout again. Cool. Now, this is just something to get me started before I lay out the whole thing. I'm going to move it over. And we're going to pick a different piece. See that? We're not going to tackle him all at once, right? We're going to tackle him piece by piece. So I think that that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's check the checker pattern. And the part that is unwrapped looks nice. It's all kind of uniform to itself. It's okay if they're not perfectly aligned. If you'd like them to be perfectly aligned, you can try a cylindrical projection and try to manhandle that if you want. I think that that is totally okay. But this will work for me. Okay. All right. Let's try the head next. The head is probably the next scariest part because I think if you can get through the head and then maybe the visor, you got this. You for sure got this, right? All right, so I'm going to bring his head right on over here. He is kind of a cylinder, but maybe with just this like curve kind of situation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge right here. I'm going to double click it and it's going to go right up to the tippy top. And I'm going to start with that. Why don't I just cut it and see? We're going to unfold it. So I'm really not sure how this is going to go, and that's okay, right? But what if we decided this is all one shell? Close. That's pretty okay. I mean, maybe a little bit of pulling. Now, maybe for you, that's like kind of an unacceptable amount of pulling. I would understand that. With round shapes like this, though, there's almost no getting away from it a little bit, but there are things that you can do to reduce it. So instead of maybe going down the side or the back of his head like this, I'm going to go down and do, oops, a daisy. I'm going to go ahead and select the side of him and have a front and a back face, just kind of front and back face. Now, wherever we make cuts that are visible like this, you run the risk of having a seam later that your viewer, player, whoever might see. Tools now are doing a lot to cover this up in the process. Like Substance Painter is pretty powerful, so is Marmoset, in hiding a lot of this. So we still want to be conscious and deliberate about what we choose, but it is okay if it's not a perfect solve, right? This is actually okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this then. So I've got a front and a back now, and now I'm going to unfold and see how we do. Woo! Hey, that's not too bad. All right, we'll head on down to a line. Let's orient my shells. I would. You have to cut them in order to separate the pieces. They're not. They're not. Yeah. Unfolding won't like remerge them or anything. They just they might touch when you lay them out. They might touch, but you just move them. So you can tell if the edge around your shell is, or whatever geometry you have here, is white, it means that it is a border of a shell. Cool. Yes. That might mean you need to continue to cut to keep unfolding it. Sometimes like you might double click something. It's like maybe I do this. Let's kind of go back a little bit. Whoop, double click it, and then I click cut, and then I think that they're separate, but I click unfold and they're still connected. Oops, yeah, oops-a daisy. It means that your double click didn't go all the way around. And this is actually okay because you can still kind of go back and kind of circle back on your previous step. You don't have to start over completely, right? You're like, oh, I made my cut and sew, I unfolded. Oops, daisy, I didn't finish cutting and sewing. I'm gonna come back here, I'm gonna cut. All right, and then we're gonna unfold again. Whoop. Hey, there we go. You can, you can. There's really no like, you have to first pass this test, Jedi, to move on. You don't have to, you can make boo-boos, it's totally fine. I actually noticed here that I kind of misclicked. Like I should have selected this guy to cut, because see how this is so much smaller than that one? You know? So I'm gonna fix it. And I'll just show you how to fix that. I'm gonna cut this, which makes sense, right? This makes logical sense. Now, if I come back to my face selection and I'm like, oh, this is totally a separate piece. I want this to be married to this guy. So I'm going to select from here to here, right? And I'm going to hit sew. Whoop. Oh, that's ugly though. Wait, no, relax, relax. We just unfold it. We just unfold it. You don't have to like be precious about, I unfolded this already. It's okay. Relax, shake it off. It's just one button. Just click it again. So I'm going to do that again. Take that. Sewing it did that, and then we had to unfold it, and it was fine, right? We're going to come back over here. Why don't I, instead of sew, I'm going to hit stitch together. Whoop. Oh, so I kind of moved the whole thing over and tried to reduce how much stretching it was doing. Double click, unfold it. So do you see how like I got through steps 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop. 2, 3, 4. Whoop. 3, 4, 3, 4. Okay, and we keep going. It's like a spiral. It's totally okay to repeat these steps because you're building on itself. All right. Ooh, I'm loving this so very much, watching you guys figure this out. This is awesome. Okay. Cool. Oh, there's its head. And one more I will do with you because I think that these are all shapes that you can functionally unwrap. I really believe that you can do this. But the hardest one might be the visor. Arguably the visor. Would we agree that the visor is probably the hardest one? If I was going to show you how to do one more, That'd be the one you want? Okay, all right, we're in agreement there. All right, this might shock you. This is basically a cylinder. It's basically a cylinder, just a little funny shaped. Okay. So yeah, we can start with that. Like I'd say that his face right here, this part right here is a cap, right? It's like the top or the bottom of a cylinder, the way a barrel is. So you can do that, or we can even add this much of a selection around it, and that could be one single piece. I'm feeling like that's one shell. And then the rest of it could be kind of like an unfolded slice and unwrap, right? Like I see those two pieces. Maybe some of you prefer this to be one piece and then that's okay too. That's totally fine. Totally fine. It's just where do you want to see the seam? If I were to look at this though, at the material, because I'm a seasoned artist, right? I noticed that there's black behind that, and I think that's a great place for a seam, like where black and blue meet. And to me, that is not here. That's more like here, right there. This is really all black, right? And everything else will be that blue metal. Like the lip in the front would be blue metal. So that's where I'm going to decide to have my seam. That's what would inform it. If you don't do it that way, you're not in trouble. You could still get an A. Cool. So I have it selected. I could just click. Well, what do you guys want me to click? Which one do you want me to do? Yeah, I selected the faces. Ooh, yes, create shell. That is an answer that will do what we want it to do. Boom. It is a shell now. It's a little stretchy though, so let's do a quick little unfold. Whoop. Here we go. Oh no, though, that's like kind of pulling. That's okay. It's going to be black. If you don't want it to pull so hard, we can give a little cut around the side here if you want to, and that might help it. It's probably going to be a little funny, actually. Yeah, that'll help if you want, but you don't have to. This is fine. This is great. It's going to be all black in that space and void-like, so it's okay. All right, now this guy, the infinity scarf. We know what to do here, right? We're going to select an edge that hopefully won't be very visible to our viewer. I'm going to select this one on the bottom. I think that's the least visible. I think that's fine. I'm going to hit cut. Select it all. Unfold. Make some sense, everybody? Cool. Now I'm going to move this over. See what's happening? I got my little system, my little conveyor belt, assembly line, if you will. Now, when you are eventually finished with all of these pieces, I take them all once they are unwrapped. I usually orient them in some direction so that they kind of make some visual sense to me. And then I will hit layout. And layout will place them pretty tightly in here. Now, if you haven't done this step already, which many of you will never really do, and that's okay. If you go to modify and click the little layout dialog box, you can actually manually put some shell padding here, which is how much space you want in between all your shells. If this is 0, which is what it is by default, and we select everything here, right? I'm going to hit apply. They're going to touch. Oh, or they're going to get very close to touching. Yeah. And maybe we don't want that, right? Because when you're painting in Painter, that's annoying. So if you add, 5 pixels here and a resolution of 1K, you're going to get a little buffer of 5 pixels in between them. So that way your layout actually kind of works tighter to what you'd like it to do. If you don't do this step, right, because you just hate looking at menus, and I don't blame you, you're okay. Just make sure you come in here and give yourself a little wiggle. Just give yourself a little wiggle room and come in here and manually move this stuff over a little bit. Give yourself some space. It's okay. It's going to be all right, guys. That's my point. Now, I don't usually personally love how layout lays my stuff out. it will solve the problem for me. And if I plan to just paint directly on the model, it matters less. But as I get into like a lot more complicated or complex meshes, I sometimes want everything wood grain to be oriented a single direction so that the wood grain goes one direction and I don't have to go in and mask it all off and all of that because I didn't think about that here. Sometimes I have materials that will emit light, and it'd be great if all of the things that glowed lived in one corner and everything else lived over here. Sometimes none of that matters, and I would just like to have conceptual sense of where things lie. So maybe I'll want his head above his body and his legs near there, or I just put them somewhere that make a little bit more sense, like a paper doll. Or maybe you are true neutral chaotic, and it doesn't matter really at the end of the day, as long as certain things are true. We have very reduced UV stretching of our checker pattern. Squares are mostly squares. Circular areas like this, there's kind of no getting around it, so a little bit is fine here. You're good there. But where we might have some problems is when you see things kind of like this. That's a problem. Advanced stretching. Another possible problem, the scale of these checkers. Look at how large they are on one and how little they are on the other. That means they're not to scale with themselves. And another thing I look for is how much negative space is in your UV map, meaning this is not acceptable. But it's in 0 to 1 space. It is. But this is about 1/4 the space. You may as well have this filled up completely and have 1/4 the amount of memory being used, and it will look exactly the same. So we want to maximize what we have with our what we call texel density. Texel density, if you want to be that guy at the party, just means resolution on a 3D model. It's like pixel density, but when you say texel, it means on the mesh. Okay. So I think you guys are golden to go ahead and keep unwrapping on your own. I believe in you. These guys, they're just fancy cylinders. Ooh, 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 ooh. Let me show you guys a quick hack on the eyeballs. I made eyeballs totally spherical, right? Well, if I were to come in here and maybe selected half of them, you know, the half that you don't see, and just delete the back. All you have to do is unfold them. You don't have to do anything else. Damn, finished. Okay, all right. On that note, I'm gonna leave you guys to it. I'm gonna come around and help you either get caught up on your homework, help you over a hurdle, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll try to remind you guys to take breaks too. All right, pause. Okay, everybody. We did not have enough time to move on today. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take Bender, the robot, and rather than him be done by Monday, we're gonna have him done on the 22nd. Okay? Now, okay. So let's just get this edited now so that we don't mess it up. Okay. 10 p.m. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to cover material and rendering on Tuesday briefly, and then we will continue on the next asset. So I really need everybody to be ready for that, right? That means you're done modeling him. Everybody, I want you to look me in the eye so that I know that you're listening. Thank you. Especially in the back. I need you to look me in the eye. All right. Thank you. Your Bender model should be completely modeled and completely unwrapped by the time I see you next. If you're not, that is okay, but we're not going to extend this any further, and we are going to continue in class. So you're not going to get as much time in class to finish it. It is kind of important that you don't only use class time explicitly to do your homework. You do to finish this off-site And I do have class after this, and it's not full. So if you want to stay, you can continue to use the lab space or use N207 to finish up. Okay. All right. So that's my deal. We're going to extend this a day, but you need to be ready for material and rendering on Tuesday. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to make sure we had understood. With that being said, I want you for your in-class exercise today. And once you've done that, you'd be free to go because I am going to use in-class exercise today to take attendance. Once you've done this, go ahead and share with me your current state of your UVs of Bender. Your current state of your UVs of Bender. Okay? All right. That's what I want to see. All right. And start rendering this now.